It's Friday, April 7th. Let's talk PlayStation. For our first news story, I would like to immediately thank the large amount of people who contacted me right away when this news story broke out, because surely a lot of you probably thought I had blacked out or stopped breathing once I found out that this news was actually a thing. And it's always great news when something like this happens related to Jak and Daxter, but that's what it is. So this past week it was announced the entire Jak and Daxter series from the PlayStation 2 is coming to the PS4 as one of the premium PS2 games with trophy support. So Jak and Daxter, Jak 2, Jak 3, and Jak X, which is the most interesting part of this announcement, because we haven't had sort of a remaster or a re-release of Jak X in any sort of large capacity since its original release back in 2005. So those 4 games are coming to PlayStation 4's PS2, the PS2, again, premium games. This means that they're still the exact PlayStation 2 games, but they're being emulated on PlayStation 4. They are going to get upscaling, so they're going to be 1080p. They are going to get trophy support. It'll be interesting to see if they're the same trophies from the PlayStation 3 collection, because we all know that there is a sort of a heavy workaround that Sony has to do to add trophy support to games that are being emulated, and not necessarily games that are that haven't gone back and been like completely remastered and retouched, a la the PlayStation 3 version. So it will be interesting to see how that sort of works out. But these will still be the actual legit PS2 games, which I'll be interested to kind of play them in that sort of form again, because it's been a while since I've played the Jak games on PlayStation 2 themselves. Also worth noting, Jak X is not going to have online support, but I feel like that was kind of a given immediately once we found out it was coming. But yeah, I'm absolutely pumped, and I'm even more excited to have another round of platinums for these games. That'll mean that I will have 1, 2, 3, so 6, and then actually have Jak and Daxter platinumed on another account. So that's 7 platinums I have technically, and so this will be another 4. So I'll have like 11 platinums related to the Jak series. That's pretty nuts. All right, we spent a lot of time on that one, but moving on to our next news story. So this past week it was announced, actually the Marvel Vice President Ryan Penagos had kind of mentioned in a video that the Spider-Man PS4 exclusive by Insomniac Games is going to be coming in 2017, which we didn't have a release date for the game, so this is why it kind of made headlines. I'm like, oh, hey, this is when, Spider-Man is coming out. It's 2017. And then Insomniac quickly followed up saying that we don't have a release date for the game. Sony also responded saying that we don't comment on rumor and speculation. This kind of goes to what we had talked about with God of War, and even going back to my original 2017 PS4 predictions, which is that I feel like God of War, Days Gone, Dreams, Detroit Become Human, and I don't think I included Spider-Man in that list, but we'll throw it in there. I said that those games are probably not going to hit 2017. They're going to either get announced in 2017 or get delayed into 2018, or just straight up get announced for 2018 or what have you. And Spider-Man's pretty much right in line with those other games, because let's face it, we haven't seen really anything about the game. No coverage, no media details, nothing. And when you have a situation like that, and we're already in April of this year, I mean, let's face it, the game is not going to make 2017. So right away, before Insomniac even commented, I just kind of thought that's not going to happen. I'd be shocked if any of those games hit 2017 still to this day. But that's the thing, is that with E3 is kind of coming up fast, so I would be pleasantly surprised if at E3 Sony had some sort of trump card in their sleeve that said, hey, guess what, it's coming out this holiday season, and then right away they start showing like tons of footage for like whatever game that they might have ready, and that will tell us that yeah, it is actually going to come out soon, which would be great. But yeah, I don't think it's going to happen. So this next one is being reported by the Wall Street Journal. They are saying that Sony is looking into bringing PlayStation VR into a number of different environment-based locations. So basically things like amusement parks or arcades. They're trying to get PlayStation VR to be sort of set up in public places where it's sort of an entertainment value, where they can get kiosks set up and something like that for people to kind of experience PlayStation VR out in the wild. They attribute it specifically to in Japan, where sales are apparently slower than expected, which is kind of conflicting with what Andrew House said, and saying that they're kind of trying to keep up with demand that is exceeding their expectations. But immediately when I read this, I was kind of thinking like, wow, that's actually kind of a really great idea. Now, initially, before PlayStation VR was even released, Sony was doing kind of a tour with PlayStation VR, and they had set up kiosks at Best Buys, I think, and it was also GameStops, and other stores like in the UK. I believe that was also a big news story where one UK shop was charging people just to demo PlayStation VR, but that's neither here nor there. The point is, that's kind of the big thing with VR. We talk about it all the time. If you're a VR naysayer, it's because you haven't put the damn thing on your head. That's the biggest problem with virtual reality. That's the biggest problem with selling it, and that's even bigger of a case too, because obviously PlayStation VR and any other virtual reality headset is a lot of money, the premium headsets, mind you. So it's hard for somebody to never use it and justify paying $400+ for a piece of hardware. So to put it in places like arcades or theme parks or something, I think that makes so much sense, and that is definitely something I think Sony should absolutely look into. I mean, hell, set up some sort of like shitty arcade kiosk at, well, not, don't make it shitty, but some sort of arcade kiosk at like Dave & Buster's all across, you know, America or whatever. You know, you got tons of families and kids, young adults going out to Dave & Buster's and playing all those arcade games. Put something out there with PlayStation VR related, you know what I'm saying? Let them play, you know, upwards of 10-15 minutes of certain titles on the PlayStation Store. Let them get some time in with Resident Evil 7 if you can somehow make that deal out with Capcom. I think that would be great. I think that would actually jumpstart sort of like you know, I don't want to overblow it, but a Wii effect, right? Where you get people to play Wii Sports and all of a sudden people they get it, right? It wouldn't be to that level because it's still an expensive piece of hardware and you still need an original PS4 to play it, but that's what you need to do. You need to get people to put the thing on your head. You probably just heard that. You know, you guys all know I have pet rats. My one rat just is an idiot and just fell from the top floor to the second floor, or to the first floor of his cage. I'm going to leave that in, obviously. I don't want to mess up this clip of footage. All right, going on to our next news story. So I feel like we had to talk about this to some capacity. So DigitalFoundry recently had a big news story about Xbox Scorpio, Xbox One Scorpio, whatever you want to call the damn thing. We got some actual specs on the hardware, and sure enough, it is just what Microsoft was kind of touting. It's a very powerful box. 8 custom x86 cores, 6 teraflops, 12 gigabytes of GDDR5, which is pretty nuts. They're using vapor chamber cooling. It's going to have a 1 terabyte hard drive. They're obviously going to go with the UHD Blu-ray drive, so you can actually play 4K Blu-rays. Some interesting quotes to share with you. Microsoft's corporate VP of Xbox said, "With the Xbox 360, we had the absolute best platform for developers. We sort of lost that in a 2-year time frame. So how do we win the mind share of these developers back? We want the best games running on our box, and there are tools, dev kits, and some arrows like that to win the developers back. So that was a big priority for us as we approach this product." Now, I'm not going to go into too much detail about specifically Xbox One Scorpio, but I guess we'll always talk about the grander scale of it, right? Because this is a new idea, the mid-cycle update. Now, sure enough, obviously it is vastly more powerful than a PlayStation 4. Maybe not even totally vast more. I mean, without a doubt, this thing is obviously demoing. I mean, right off the bat, they demoed, you know, Forza 4K 60 frames on it, no problem. And I guess the game was running up to 70% full, you know, operating capacity without even super huge optimization in the game. So yeah, it's a pretty impressive piece of kit. Now, DigitalFoundry is also guessing that the system, this is speculation, we don't have an actual price, which you would assume Microsoft is going to announce relatively soon, probably at E3 or something, but they're saying like this system's got to be around $499, and Microsoft keeps saying over and over again this is a premium console, so they are definitely trying to get that idea out there that, much like PS4 Pro, this is something that not a lot of consumers I think are going to jump to immediately. It's going to be pretty pricey. Now, I think this is going to be the same situation with PlayStation 4 Pro. This thing is going to come out, and yeah, it's probably going to be awesome. It's kind of like what I was talking about in my PS4 Pro review. It is awesome. It does the job. But it's just a premium system that you don't necessarily need. And for the console market, while it's certainly out of the norm, it's something that not many people are used to right now, and certainly the market's dictating that. I kind of knew right away, and I think a lot of people knew right away, it's a platform that isn't going to sell nearly as much as a baseline PlayStation 4, and that has been the case, and that's what's, Sony's fine with. That's what they kind of wanted. It's more of a gradual process, kind of a gradual turnover. That's the point of the mid-cycle update. You don't necessarily have to update right away, and that's always been the case for consoles. If you look back to previous console generations, every sort of transition, it's a very slow thing. Despite the fact that these mid-cycle consoles, and I often compare them to, like, say, smartphones, right? Where smartphones come out very frequently, but you don't have to buy a new smartphone right away. You can use the same one for a few years, and all your apps are still going to work the same. Now, I always compare it to that, right? But this is still the console market. When new phones come out, people just jump ship right away. That is not the same with consoles. People will hold on to their consoles and think about their next upgrade for a very long time. Even when a whole new generation comes out. Sure, a whole new generation, the consoles will immediately sell out and do extremely well, but it takes a long time for their, to their install base to kind of actually meet or exceed the previous generation. So it's just it's a different idea, and it's something that's going to slowly. That's all it is. It's a slow process, right? And Sony's fine with that, and Microsoft's fine with that. They know that because they built premium machines that are going to be just for premium users right away. And Sony and Microsoft both know that at some point it's going to make a lot of sense for people to buy these premium machines, because at some point they're not going to be premium. At some point they're going to be super, priced competitively. And at that point, they're probably going to have even new hardware ready, and it's just going to kind of keep rolling over. And that idea of what we've been talking about forever is going to be a very real thing of like, you can, your games are going to be fully compatible, what have you, and you can upgrade whenever you want. And that's, I think, a really great consumer-friendly sort of place to be. Now, if you want to talk about when Microsoft actually releases this thing late in holiday 2017, yeah, $500 is going to be a lot. They're definitely going to be in the same place as Sony. Tons of people are not going to, rush to buy this thing. The base Xbox One S is probably going to still do pretty well for them. In terms of their whole idea of winning developers back, I don't know at that point. I mean, Sony does have a considerable lead, and developers definitely love, developing first on PlayStation 4, and considering how many units are out there and considering the install base, I mean, I think that's going to be a tough sell for Microsoft on developers. I don't really know if they're going to achieve that, and especially they're not going to pull that off with a more powerful console. The fact of the matter is, you just need you need more units out there to encourage more software sales, and then that might give a lot of developers more of a reason to be on your side. But either way, I'm sure all the developers are going to be happy with whatever easier tools and things that Microsoft give them. Now, I will say, by the time Scorpio comes out, this is another prediction I think I had, but you got to figure at some point Sony is probably going to also lower the price of PS4 Pro and even the baseline PS4 to, base PS4 would go down to $250 officially MSRP, because realistically there's been tons of sales already of PS4 going to $250, often $250 with a bunch of games bundled in or something. They do this constantly, which tells you they can easily slash more money off the MSRP. So you'd have to figure an official cut at $250 by the end of this year would be a real thing, which means an official MSRP of $250 means an even lower price of, sales, so it'd be even lower at that point. And PS4 Pro will be on the market for over a year at that point, so sure, PS4 Pro could either go on sale for $350. You'd start seeing sales go for $350, or, same thing, right? It'd be bundled in with games or something like that, and it would make a lot of sense for even more people to maybe upgrade and get a Pro at that point. So it's just the same thing we kind of talk about. It's going to be an uphill battle for Microsoft, and it's still going to be for a long time. Although I don't want to be too negative. Scorpio sounds like a dream machine for a lot of people that really want that. For people that really want that power out of a console. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and tell you it's a bad machine. That thing sounds fucking awesome. I would love if there was a PlayStation 4 version of that, but it's expensive, and just that's what console buyers always vote with, is their wallets, and that's the whole point of a console, is a cheap, affordable box that is just gonna run and play your games just fine. That's what people like about them, that they're simple, that they're easy to jump into, and they don't kill your wallet. So that's why this new idea of mid-cycle consoles is just that. It's something you don't have to do right away, and that's what a lot of people are going to do with Scorpio, and that's what they're doing right now with PS4 Pro. They don't need it, so they're not buying them. Those are just some of the news stories I want to talk about with you guys this week. I'm almost done with Horizon. I'm not going to screw you guys like I did with Uncharted 4. I will review it. I don't care if the review would be irrelevant at this point and people don't even want to watch anymore. I promise that I'm going to do it. Because there are people that are still asking for the Uncharted 4 review, which I guess I'll still get to that at some point too. This has been the worst time because I'm so friggin' busy, but that will happen, I assure you. But that concludes this week's episode of Let's Talk PlayStation. I'm Rob Benecki. Thank you all so much for talking with me, and I will see you guys all next Friday.